अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, मैं हूं आसिम नकवी और महफिल-ए-वेलायत में आपको खुशामदीद कहते हैं। आज का प्रोग्राम हम इंग्लिश में करेंगे क्योंकि हमारे साथ यहाँ पे स्टूडियोज़ में मौजूद हैं जनाब शेख हिल्ली साहब। I'm going to convert into English now. Assalamu alaikum viewers. Today we're going to do the program in English. Regularly we do in Urdu, and today we have a special guest from UK, Sheikh Mohammed Al-Hilli. Thank you very much for coming over here and joining us.
Thank you.
We really appreciate. And for like always, Mohammed Ali Jafri will be with me over here today, and we will inshallah do a program with Sheikh Hilli, and then later Syed Sulaiman Abdi from Chicago, he'll be joining us over here too. And first of all, Sheikh, today you are here in Houston. You're leading prayers in Al-Ghadir Education Center, and we really appreciate Brother Mandy. He brought you over here on such a short notice. I just spoke to you a couple of days ago, and you accepted our invitation, and you came over here. We're gonna basically talk about today current affairs, basically what's happening in Iraq especially, and then if anything else you wanna talk to the youth about something, because I know a lot of youth follow you in Houston and around the world. And first, like we always do, we're going to talk a little bit about Sheikh Hilli, a little bit like introduction about him, and I would ask you, so if you can go ahead and start on that a little bit.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
First of all, welcome to the Houston Studios Mehfil-e-Velayat.
Thank you.
And first of all, because a lot of youth watch our program. And first of all, I know that you, by profession, you are a pharmacist. And for the youth, I want to ask you, because you was educated in the field of pharmacy and you did your pharmacy. And what was the motivation factor that you decided to go to the? You went to the Najaf for the study. So what was the motivation or the motivated factor that you took you from UK, and I think you brought up in UK, and you went to all the way to Najaf and get your education, and you did your father Najaf, mashallah. So what was your role? I can say that who was your role model, or what was the motivation factor behind that?
Yeah.
For your youth, especially living in the United States and UK and Canada.
Thank you very much. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه أجمعين محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. First of all, it's an honor to take part and to be here in this particular place with Velayat TV, and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you the success and tawfiq to continue serving the madhab of Ahl al-Bayt and the teachings of the pure family of the Holy Prophet, inshallah ta'ala. And secondly, with regards to the encouragement or the inspiration aspect, alhamdulillah, sometimes when you think about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens up many avenues, opens up many paths for those who are truly wanting to better themselves and to serve society, serve the community. When I was a young age, my father used to encourage me to give lectures and sermons, even when I started when I was 11. Later, after I completed my pharmacy degree, alhamdulillah, I was encouraged to pursue further Islamic studies by some scholars. But also what happened was I saw that, especially in the English language, there is a need for people who have the ability to communicate in the English language, to have an understanding of the religion of Islam as taught by the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and those who lived their lives, their youth lives in the West. So today we have many of the youth, they have many issues, challenges, problems, obstacles. So in order to be able to kind of converse with them, give them advice, give them support, present the teachings of the religion, the solutions that the religion of Islam presents for their problems, I felt it now there is a lot of vacuum, there's a lot of need for people, scholars, preachers, speakers, especially in the English language, to advance and to offer their service for the community. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the barakah of the Ahl al-Bayt, everything has worked out very well, and we are also very encouraging our youth, our youngsters, not only if they pursue Islamic education, seminary, hawza, but even to better themselves and to educate themselves and to learn the teachings of the religion in order to serve, inshallah.
So you think that that was the time that there was a vacuum created, or you can call it the generation gap between the newly migrated people and after the generation, you think was as a vacuum between these two generations was the motivation factor?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. What is happening is that, of course, the youth are now being raised in countries like the United States, United Kingdom, Europe, Africa, and the situation there is not the same as, for instance, in the Middle East, in India, Pakistan. The environment for them is not the same. So they are having to have many questions. They interact with people, non-Muslims, even Muslims from other faiths, other denominations. So they have questions at universities and schools. These questions need answering. So the reason we are encouraging more and more propagation and the dissemination and the spreading of the teachings of the religion of Islam in the West is because of the many misconceptions and the attack against the religion and also against the followers of Ahl al-Bayt also. So we have to be equipped, we have to have the necessary tools, and we have to be ready to answer these questions.
Very good. Asim, you want to ask any question? Or?
Yes, actually I have a few questions. I got texted by a few brothers. I want to start especially what's going on in Iraq right now. The first question I have is a lot of people are still confused and surprised that how did unit of 10,000 takfiris took over the provinces of a big country, and how do you do you think somebody's backing them up, and how they gathered all of a sudden and just took over a lot of places? What's your say on that?
Well, I mean, we have to understand that what happened in Iraq in the last few weeks is not an isolated incident. It does not just come up out of the blue. It is something that has its roots for many years. And what has happened is an impact of the presence of these terrorists, these individuals in Syria, and them being backed by money and support from countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar. So these individuals, ISIS, as they call themselves, Islamic State for Iraq and Sham or Syria, or now they call themselves Islamic State. Right. These people, they were terrorizing, and they gained momentum and strength in Syria, took over some cities like Raqqa and others, fought even with other rebel groups like Al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, and even the Free Syrian Army. So they established themselves. And what happened also then is that the last few years they have also targeted Shia generally in Iraq. Bombings, suicide bombings, car bombings, assassinations. So they spread in the northern region and in Baghdad in certain areas, and they started to use the money which has been given to them by these countries to bribe people. Like, for instance, they would pay quite a lot for policemen or others to allow cars to enter certain cities and for it to be exploded, or improvised devices, IEDs on the roads, the bombs that they plant on the roads. So they had not just come all of a sudden. They had built a foundation, a basis, and unfortunately what happened is in the north of Iraq, especially in the Anbar province, in areas like Mosul, some of the tribes, they welcomed them, and some of them they allowed them to stay there and to use the houses or areas as a basis for operation. because they were bribed with money. They were told, you know, why you have a Shia government ruling you, and so on. So there's all factor, in addition with the support of certain powers also. So this all made it. But what really happened a few weeks ago at the fall of these cities like Mosul and Tikrit was the fact that once again money played a part, and the weakness sometimes of the soldiers in the Iraqi army, which they run away, but their commanders who were bribed, commanders of the army were bribed, and so they ran away from their posts. The few thousand, not even maybe 10,000, maybe the rebels, these fighters, these terrorist ISIS, there may be 3,000 to 4,000. And then they gained people. They started recruiting, like now they're doing.
Right.
They have a lot of ability online, on the internet, to have these horrific, barbaric videos of execution and beheading. So they put fear in the heart of people. So soldiers, they knew these people, that if they get captured, immediately they'll be killed. So they ran away, despite them, the soldiers, the Iraqi army being maybe 20, 30,000. But they still left their posts, unfortunately. And now even when the terrorists went into Mosul, they have much more money. They stole whatever is in the bank, and they have the weapons. So they reconsolidated their powers in that city.
So these are the ex-army personnel from the Saddam regime?
Yes. Yes.
Also,
yeah, definitely, because you see, they have shared interest. This ISIS, Ba'athist, these other groups, the terrorist groups, Salafi, Wahhabi group, they have shared interest, which is to defeat the Shia government and also to bring back, to establish their own rule. And therefore, they are, at the moment, it seems that they are working together. But the dynamics of them are all different, in that you have the Baathists who are very secular. They don't believe in any kind of Islamic teaching or state. You have these groups of people who call themselves IS, Islamic State. They believe in the establishment of this particular entity, and therefore you will not see them now compatible until one of them will enforce the rule over the other. So it is likely that they will have conflicts, just like how Nusra Front and ISIS and Al-Qaeda are fighting each other in Syria. This will continue. This will happen in Iraq, we predict also.
Sheikh, also, like I think you or Syed Suleiman Hassan yesterday mentioned, they're like recruiting people from other countries as well. Like in UK, like 500 or so people have joined them in Iraq or in Syria combined. What do you like? You know, how they are like recruiting people, like especially countries like in Europe or even around the world?
Yeah, these individuals, let's not forget, they are a very dangerous, very cunning, very ruthless group of people who are brainwashing and are trying to capture the youth who feel a sense of emptiness, sense of boredom, restlessness. They feel they want to do something. So through the media, through the online, YouTube and social media, they have been able to get to different parts of Europe, especially, as you mentioned, the United Kingdom. And the way they present their message is, look, Islam, there's a Khilafah, they have their flag which says La ilaha illallah on it. They say we want to establish the Khilafah as it was after the Holy Prophet. We want to bring Islam. So on the surface, they want to beautify or make it very attractive, this objective of theirs, their goal of theirs is, you know, we want Islamic State, we want to have, you know, no borders. Even now when they produce videos, when they interview people on the street in Mosul, I've seen these videos, they ask them, how is life now in Mosul? How do you find everything? They say, oh, very good, alhamdulillah, it's better than before, no car bombing, and now between Syria and Iraq, no need for visa, I go, come back, everything is very good. So they say to people, look, we have now removed the boundaries, we have removed the border, now they even ordered people in Mosul to lower the price for the daily commodities, fruits and vegetables. You know, they say lower it so that people, you know, so they have a very deceiving, very cunning plan.
Yes.
Although they are, of course, underneath, they are executing, they are killing, they are barbaric, they are so violent, bloodthirsty, and they have a objective which they have clearly mentioned, which is the number one enemy, they said, more than any other group or religious denomination, are the Shias. And they want to obliterate and remove all Shias. So that's something that has also attracted some of the youth, because they have been brainwashed to say Shias are polytheists, the Shias are non-Muslim. So when they are told, look, for instance, they bring the Syrian conflict. They give example, they say, oh, this Syrian government, Bashar al-Assad, this, that. They show images, children, and so on. People feel moved, and they say, I have to do something. What am I doing in the West? And this is alarming the UK government and many other worldwide governments. They are very frightful that these people are coming back, being radicalized, coming back as individuals who are terrorizing and could commit terrorism in Europe or in other places around the world as well.
So those people, they move from UK to support the ISI. They are like volunteers, or they have some kind of, because from our background perspective, these people are trained in the madrasas. So do you think that in the UK there is a madrasas for the takfiris? They are training them, or
let's not forget that the basis for all this, the root,
Yeah.
the beginning plan, is this ideology of Salafism, Wahhabism, which from the many years, from its establishment by Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, seeking to apply the teachings of Ibn Taymiyyah, and today it has spread and expressed its willingness to spread its ideology through money, through publications, using the petrol dollar. All this has its roots many countries around the world. So now mosques or centers they want to open in Europe, immediately they are funded by the supporters of this ideology, and therefore you'll have so-called imams or religious scholars in those centers. When the congregation, the youth, they come, they will speak like this, they will incite them, they will spread hatred, division amongst the Muslims, Sunni, Shia. They will create this conflict. And also what is happening in the UK as well is in the university campuses, at the universities, at different educational establishment and institutions. These people, the ones who are preaching this type of message, they are also trying to recruit as many people to spread this as well. So they publish books and leaflets and give talks in university. And unfortunately, we had a very tragic, barbaric incident last year in London, whereby one of them, these people following ideology of Wahhabism, he came and killed a drummer in the Soldier. His name is Lee Rigby, in London, in an area known as Woolwich. And he was a non-Muslim, became a Muslim, so a revert. But he was brainwashed. And therefore when he did this, something which we condemn and we have no justification for it, but unfortunately this is an example of what is happening and the mindset of these people, which are completely lost any respect for human beings or dignity of the life of human being, as long as they achieve what they want to achieve.
Sheikh, I have another question which has been texted by another brother. And he's asking, looking at the current situation, do you think our great marjas and seminaries, Hawza, Najaf and Karbala, will be more involved in the politics and the formation of future government in Iraq?
You see, we have to understand that currently the Marja'iyya, our Maraja in Najaf, have been involved from day one. It is not that they have abandoned or they have not cared, far from it. From the first day after the invasion of Iraq, our great Maraja like Ayatollah Adma Sistani Hafidahullah and other Maraja have given clear instruction on important matters. So for instance, the idea of the writing of the constitution and that it has to be put through a referendum in Iraq, the concept of elections to elect a new government, the idea of corruption and always speaking out, and through Friday prayers and so on. And continuously people seek advice who they should vote for, and they give them broad guidelines. And even until, of course, this crisis that is happening now, and the instruction of Ayatollah al-Sistani hafidhahullah for the believers in different parts of Iraq to stand together, Sunni and Shia. He did not use the term Shia. He said everybody to defend the land, to defend their cities, to take up arms against these individuals who are enemies of humanity, not enemies of just Shia or Sunni, they're enemies of everyone. So this was a very important statement, this was a very important declaration. But it highlights that the Marja'iyya has a role, very important role. It is respected, it is followed by the people, its voice is heard, and has heavy weight and clout in Iraq and abroad. And at the same time, it shows that it is not something to be taken for granted. A lot of the times what the world powers are surprised by the impact of Marja'iyya and Maraja and their statement that they have upon the people in Iraq. So definitely my humble opinion is now the statement of Ayatollah Sistani and the position of the Marja'iyyat has made it even more stronger, the Marja'iyyat in Iraq, because it has demonstrated its backing by the people, and we have seen now more than at least 1 million to 2 million people who have answered the call to take up arms and to defend their cities from the aggression of ISIS and all the other terrorists.
Sheikh, just another question comes out of this. A lot of people are confused, like that, Agha Sistani has said, like, jihad fatwa. Put some light on this. Is it like jihad fatwa, or is it like, only the people living in Iraq, they are Iraqi and they have to stand against the oppression and what's going on over there, and people are like, just only the Iraqis. I mean, I know you're from Iraq and you have been talking to the ulmas over there, so...
Yeah, definitely. It's unfortunately something that Western media have misunderstood, and some of the media outlets have presented it as a fatwa for jihad against Sunnis, which is far from it. The clear statement of Ayatollah Sistani as an instruction is not including any word which is jihad in that particular declaration or statement. It is an instruction for self-defense, to rally the Iraqis to protect their cities and their villages and their properties and their lives from the aggression of these individuals, the wretched individuals, ISIS. So when it comes to this particular matter, it is not jihad per se, but it is known as wajib kifai, which means that some people must do it to lift the obligation upon all of the mukallafin, all those who are following. So the instruction was this of Ayatollah Sistani: in every village, in every city, there must be a group of people who rise to protect, to make sure that these terrorists, like in Najaf, Karbala, they do not enter these areas. So it does not involve in any shape or form anybody from outside Iraq to go there. So it is not a call for people abroad to join arms and go there. They have also other responsibilities that they can do to support this cause of the protection of Iraq from aggression, but it primarily is for the people of Iraq and in self-defense.
Sheikh, I have another follow-up question. What are different ways we can address the issue of Western governments supporting fitna in Iraq, especially through the media? Like, they've been talking about the media over here. Some people are saying, like, they have different interests over there, and like, I mean, it could be oil or it could be, a lot of other things. How we can, like, talk about it among us, and especially to our youth, like, telling them the right things, or what can they do living over here, so these countries, like, they will be well aware that what's going on over there, like you mentioned, it's not Sunnis and Shias. It's the group of people, they don't believe in basically anything. They have their own laws, and they just like, anybody goes against it. Like they have just a few days ago, they said they are going to destroy Kaaba. And their masters who's actually supporting them, they also want to go against them as well.
Yeah.
So how you look at that?
Yes, it's a clear plan to confuse people and to make them unaware of the situation. But we have to understand that we have a very important role to play in the West with the availability of media, of the internet, of the rallying and the lobbying of certain politicians to clear the misconceptions out there. For instance, this whole notion of Sunni Shias killing each other, or there's a civil sectarian war in Iraq or in the Middle East, it suits the interest and it suits the purpose of presenting it as a very long war between Sunnis and Shias. What we have to do is to raise awareness of the correct, for instance, understanding of what is happening in Iraq. Because what is happening is a concerted effort to present misinformation in the media and to mislead people into thinking that it is ultimately the different sides in Iraq, as far as the faith are concerned, are standing against each other. How here the youth and others can really be proactive and take important steps, and that is to write to the newspapers, write to the magazines, write to the different websites, even to the different media outlets, and to try their utmost to speak and protect what is happening. So for instance, if the media are talking about Ayatollah Sistani issuing fatwa of jihad, they can come and say, no, it is not as you have said. To talk about these individuals, these ISIS, their barbaric actions, their real intention, and what is it that they're establishing or trying to do, cause chaos and bloodshed and kill as many people as possible. To help with the humanitarian aspect, there are many hundreds of thousands of Iraqis that are displaced now in Iraq from the places in Mosul and other cities. They have gone to Kirkuk, to speak about the issue that, not necessarily in defense of any person or any government like in Iraq, but to say, look, in Iraq, the last 10 years, there's been democracy. This West now, the Western media, they're saying the Sunni are always marginalized. They're not given their rights, their share of power. But there has been several elections. Everyone is free to take part in elections. There have been many Sunni ministers. There is a vice president who's Sunni. There's deputy prime minister who's Sunni. This idea that the West is always trying to say that, they are suffering, they're not getting this, that, they have to share power. But the reality is in Iraq, the 65% Shia at least. So there's been democracy. This is what the United States and all the others, they're saying, we want democracy. If we're saying if democracy brings Shia government in power, then how is it possible that today, if we give example, if John McCain, who lost against Obama, he comes to Obama and says, but it's not fair, you're president, I want a power share. You do some things and I do some things. Or the Republicans and the Democrats, they say, but it's not fair, yet you are president, you're taking over. In Iraq, the thing is, we have to understand the dynamics. The dynamics is that you have to have a prime minister who's Shia. But this prime minister, I'm not defending necessarily him, but generally this attack is not against him. This attack is against Shias. Anyone else other than Nouri al-Maliki would have been prime minister who's a Shia, it would be the same thing. Because you see, in the BBC interview last week, I saw it, the previous US ambassador in Baghdad, in Iraq, I think he served from 2010 to 2012, I forgot his name. They asked him, what do you think, the first question, what do you think is a problem in Iraq now? His response was, that the Sunni community have not accepted Shia to be rulers in Iraq, because all these years, since the time of Mukhtar, hundreds of years back, there's not been any Shia rule in Iraq. And now the last 10 years, Shias are ruling in Iraq. So they are not accepting this reality. Now, how do we ensure that this is accepted? Through knowledge, through understanding, through awareness, through pressure, through lack of interference from the countries around, like Saudi, like Qatar, like Turkey. These are influencing these people, saying to them, no, you have to rise up and do something about it and support these terrorists, because that's what they're doing. They're bringing them some tribesmen. They're allowing these ISIS terrorists to stay in their homes, to build the bombs in their own backyard, giving them money and so on. So unfortunately we have a challenge in Iraq which is due to ignorance. And Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib sallallahu alayhi wa mentions that the worst enemy of a human being is the ignorance. When they are ignorant, they will follow the path of shaitan. They will follow the path of falsehood. And when we have to fight this ignorance by increasing knowledge, increasing awareness, understanding of people, that look, Shias and Sunnis can live side by side in Iraq. They respect each other. There is no, as soon as there's violence and killing, that's when they start harboring resentment and hatred and so on and so forth. We have to learn the respect and coexistence and tolerance, not only in Iraq, in Pakistan, in Bahrain, in many other countries. But sadly, and this is not because I'm a Shia and I say this, but this is the reality, that the followers of Ahl al-Bayt, the Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, have been the subject of killing and mass slaughter in many of these countries for no reason other than the fact that they express their love towards Ahl al-Bayt. That's it. They don't kill anybody. They don't take anybody's rights. But in all these countries, they have been the target. The shrines of the Imams, the shrines of the Sahaba who are following the Ahl al-Bayt, like Hijr ibn Adi, like Uwais al-Qarni, all these have been destroyed. In Mosul yesterday, and in Tal La'far, the Shia city, which is now unfortunately also in the hands of the terrorists, many Shia mosques and Husseyniyas have been destroyed. And the pictures are now there for people to see. But why? If there is something I disagree with somebody, I say to somebody, look, I don't believe that what you are practicing in Islam is right. Islam does not give me the right to go and kill them and destroy their places of worship. Yes, okay, Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi anil Munkar. Say to them, you're not supposed to do this. But violence is not sanctioned in Islam in such a way, So this is our problem, the problem with the brainwashing and this ideology of takfir.
Sheikh, last question regarding this issue. Kurds did not support Iraqi military and instead stayed indifferent with Takfir's takeover. How would you define their stance?
Unfortunately, the Kurds have a long time wanted their own state. They have wanted Kurdistan to be their own country and to be separated from Iraq. They've always wanted Kirkuk because it's oil rich as well, and the central government, the Shia government, dominated government, will not give them that. The Marja'iyya or Maraja have stood against it as well, because Kirkuk belongs to Iraq, and also there are ethnic minorities there. There's Arabs, there's Turkomans, there's Assyrians, others there too. But it looks like on the surface that the Kurds have utilized this opportunity. And they have grasped it, and they have seized the opportunity. But to the analysts, it's more than that. It seems there's something out there. I don't want to say there's collaboration or whatever. I don't have evidence for that. But it seems that it's too easy for them, that they entered Kirkuk, and now they're saying we'll have referendum to go and want to ask people whether they want Kurdish state also. And the fact that normally the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't support many states, but for him to come out and say, I support a Kurdish state, also points to other aspects that one can think about. But generally today their position has been very negative in that respect, and many of the Shias are disappointed with their stance. Even when it came to the first day of the parliament in Iraq, many they did not attend, they just walked out, and in a time where everybody has to sit together to resolve the affairs of the country. This is not now about Sunni Shia Kurds, this is about Iraq and the safety of the people of Iraq and the sacredness of what is in Iraq, the shrines, the marjas, the people generally. This is all about that now. But unfortunately, what has happened is that these people have shown who they are and their interests, where their interests lie, doesn't seem to be in any shape or form the country of Iraq, but rather their own objective of creating the state of Kurdistan.
But don't you think, like in later on, these animals will go after Kurds as well? Like, you know, if right now, I mean, maybe they are not touching them because they have a bigger target right now, and then later on, once they, I mean, which they will never achieve, but
absolutely. And you see, if you look at the plans that they have published, ISIS, of where they will go, you know, their idea in 10 years' time of the so-called Islamic Caliphate, how it will spread. It will spread, they say, all the way until Andalus, Spain, you know, and in parts of Africa, and even including Saudi. And that's why the government there has now deployed 30,000 troops on the border with Iraq, or some number of troops on the border with Iraq, to say we are protecting ourselves from terrorists, but there's a lot of hypocrisy there anyway, as you mentioned, the backing and so on.
Right.
Yet, yes, there's no doubt that these people, because they don't have any principles, there is nothing that holds them back. When you capture under international law and Islamic law, both of them, they say when you capture anyone as a prisoner or anything, you do not go and execute them, because they are defenseless. You have to, you know, there is a process to deal. There is, like, for instance, prison, or later on you exchange or whatever. But you do not go like this, you know, behead them and execute them. So these people, when they do this, they have no red line, they have no boundaries. They will cross it. They will do whatever is necessary to achieve what their masters and what they themselves want to achieve. Therefore, I don't see them holding back if they grow, if their state grows. But inshallah ta'ala, with the du'as of the believers across the world, with the hard work and the commitment of the people of Iraq themselves, the Marja'iyya, these terrorists will be defeated, inshallah, and they will be eliminated, and they will be disgraced, inshallah, because we are told in the Holy Quran, in tansurullah yansurkum wa yuthabbit aqdamakum. If you are sincere, if you give the victory to Allah, Allah will give victory to you, inshallah. Inshallah. And we have seen, alhamdulillah, our brothers and sisters in Iraq, you know, even several Sunni scholars have come forward and said, yes, we must defend the country. There are Sunni fighters also standing with the Shias to defend the country from these individuals, these terrorists. And the Quran informs us that whoever instigates the fuel of hatred, fitna, they will burn with it also. So these countries who are supporting this terrorism, they think that they're safe, but they will be the victims. And history will write, and we'll see, time will tell how these individuals who try to inflame the fire in other places, they'll see the fire itself engulfing them and burning them too.
Quickly, do you see any ties with the ISIS and the Taliban in Pakistan? I mean, they both have been killing Shias.
Yeah. So of course, there are all of these terrorist groups, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, Nusra, ISIS, share the same objective and background in terms of the fact that they are Salafi or Wahhabi in their inception, and that they want to obliterate, they want to establish their own ruthless extremist interpretation. Therefore, there is no doubt that these people, perhaps, we see them, we see the fighters from Tunis, from, even I think certain people from Kashmir, other places, they have come, some of them are very, determined and to kill. So I think that there is a resemblance definitely when it comes to Taliban and other terrorist groups.
Believe it or not, they just captured a couple of people in Houston. They were recruiting people to go and join them. I don't know if you saw in news. It was last week in news over here.
Yeah, and that is why our message to the government, to the United States, the UK, all of these governments in Europe, is that this threat in Iraq is not only a threat against Shia, but a threat against all humanity. We, as citizens, peaceful, loving citizens in this country, UK, we are against any terrorism. We denounce all kinds of killings of innocent civilians. We want the protection of the people, the civilians. You know, we are against barbaric actions, crimes, and atrocities like 9/11 and 7/7. You know, we are the followers of Ahl al-Bayt who are peaceful and loving. But we are saying this, that these individuals, they are extremist and they are violent, and they will cause bloodshed. Not only will they kill Shias, but they have said themselves. One of them, these fighters from UK who went to Syria and Iraq, he called one of the British channels, and they called him. He said, when I come back to UK, I will turn UK into hell. You know, so these people have to be, the world international community, United Nations, everybody should stand to condemn and to also point the finger to their supporters. The ones who are funding them. The moment we drain this support and put pressure on the countries that are giving them money, that they will feel the pressure, and inshallah then they will break down and they will be defeated, inshallah ta'ala. But the whole world needs to understand the severity and the danger that is facing humanity.
Yeah, actually it already happened in the United States in 9/11, and in UK about in July I forget the year, but in July the bombing of the train. 7/7,
July,
yeah.
yes.
7th July they did the bombing for the train system, and plus the US in 9/11. You know, these are the same people.
Yes, today Salafism, Wahhabism is the #1 exporter of terrorism in the world. And you know, we see it in Pakistan, we see it in Syria, in Iraq. You know, we see it in all these places. They are brainwashing children from a madrasa age. They have money. They are causing publications with regards to inciting terror and hatred. So that has to be highlighted. One of the things we can do as people living in the West,
UK and
to speak
US,
and to lobby people, to tell them, these are
the
danger we have to highlight. It is not, they have hijacked Sunni Islam. They come, they say we are Sunni. But many Sunnis around the world will not want this in their name, yes? And they have hijacked Islam too. So one of the things is to raise awareness about the danger of Wahhabism, Salafism.
Yes, sir.
Viewers, our numbers are on the screen. If you have any questions, you may call us, and we have only a few minutes left with the Sheikh. And last thing, I just want you to put the light on Bibi Khadija alayhi salam, because her wafat is like a couple of days from now. So just a few minutes, if you can talk about that, and I will
of course,
really appreciate
Sayyidah Khadija, peace and blessings be upon her, was the only wife of the Holy Prophet, whom the Holy Prophet married her out of love and really admired this particular marriage, and he did not marry anyone else during the lifetime of this great lady, Sayyidah Khadija, peace be upon her. She's mentioned as one of the 4 women of paradise. And together with Mary, together with Sayyidatun Nisa Fatimatu Zahra alayhi salam, and Sarah, the wife of Firaun. And what we find is that the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and his holy progeny would say that Islam was strengthened by the sword of Ali ibn Abi Talib and the wealth of Sayyidah Khadija, peace be upon them. When it comes to her life, you see that she was completely submissive to the command of Allah and to serve the religion of Islam. She gave all her wealth in order for the religion of Islam to spread and to strengthen. She stood to protect the Holy Prophet in all the aspects, and she even, suffered in those 3 years whereby they were held in sanction. And she's a great role model for both men and women, a great role model on how an individual dedicates their lives for the service of the religion of Islam and for the Holy Prophet and the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam. We have one narration which states that one day Angel Jibreel came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and said to him, Ya Rasulullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends his salam to Khadija and informs her that he has a special place for her in Jannah. So the Prophet informs Khadija and said that Allah sends his salam to you through Jibreel. She answers beautifully. She says, O Allah, you are peace. Anta salam, wa minka salam, wa ilayka salam. You are peace. From you comes salam. To you return salam. Everything about you is that beauty. So it highlights to us her iman, her strong courage, her yaqeen, her devotion. You know, it is so easy when you look at the biography of Sayyidah Khadija. You'll see that she was one of the wealthiest ladies in Arabia. And she was a pure woman. She was tahira, you know, and everybody wanted to get married to her. And she could have had, you know, the richest man or the most famous man, but she was looking for the purest man. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her that. When she saw the Holy Prophet and his characteristics, his truthfulness, his trustworthiness, the fact that he was known as Sadiq al-Amin, she embraced this opportunity to marry him, and from then on dedicated her life to serving him. And of course, she is the mother of the greatest lady created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Sayyidatun Nisa Fatimatu Zahra, salawatullahi wa salamu alayha. So for many reasons we respect her and we mourn her shahadat, the fact that she gave her life for the upholding of the beautiful religion of Islam. And the Prophet himself was saddened when she passed away. And he was very saddened when, of course, the same year, his uncle, who is a believer, who is a mu'min, Abu Talib alayhi salam, also passed away, and called that year Am al-Huzn, the year of sorrow. You know, and the Prophet would not act by himself. This is a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Sheikh, we have one call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? I think line got disconnected. Can you please call us back? Brother, please call us back. Your line got disconnected. Quickly, we are about to end. If you have a question for Sheikh, please call us right back. Sheikh, before we get a call, can you say a few words about the role of media these days, and if you want to give a message to the youth, just quickly, please.
In this day and age, we are actually facing a media war, whereby people are being influenced and directed towards sides and beliefs through sites in the online or through satellite channels. And it is a major challenge that we have to really rise up to ensure that the pure, pristine message of the religion of Islam as taught by the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam is presented to the world. Many a times people are influenced of what they see on television, for instance, or what they hear in the radio, or what they read online. And our youth, my humble message to them is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly has honored us with the opportunity to practice our faith and to show our devotion towards our beloved leaders, the Holy Prophet and the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam. In this particular environment, especially in the West, we have to have this feeling of responsibility. If you place ourselves in places like, for instance, Middle East or others, where maybe we don't have this opportunity as much, simplest thing is over there, maybe the internet is not good, or there's security problem, or we have to, there's all this poverty and these issues. Maybe then people there will be excused, but here in this country, each and every one of us, as youth, as elders, anybody who has a skill, who has a talent, who has an ability to speak, to write, to design websites, to work in media, to publish, to do whatever they can, organize demonstration, to author books. Each one of us, if utilize our efforts collectively together with the bigger goal in mind, and that is serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the religion of Islam, and being ready for the eventual reappearance of Imam Sahib al-Asr al-Zaman,
Allahumma
Ajal
salli
Allah
ala
Muhammad
Muhammad.
al-Sharif. Having that in mind, making that commitment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bestow us with tawfiq, inshallah, and grant us the ability to serve. And that ability to serve is very, very important. That himmat, that drive within us, we need to develop and increase and encourage our youngsters to think about. Not to sit idle and to say, yeah, there's now holidays, there's vacation, I just want to play games, I want to watch the World Cup, I want to just do this. No problem, you can have time for leisure, time for ibadat, but time for service. Make sure that our presence in this world has a meaning and we can really make a difference.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. You gave us time, and you've been here for almost an hour. And thank you, viewer, for watching. And we'll be right back after a short break, and we will have Sayyid Sulaiman Hassan Abadi with us. And inshallah, if you have any question, you can call us later on. Just stay tuned. We'll be right back in a few minutes. Thank you very much.